Calls for arrest of Israeli President Isaac Herzog spark legal and political storm during London visit. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen unveils measures to halt Israel's war on Gaza. Nepal in flux, army steps in after PM Oli resigns amid Gen Z-led uprising. Ethiopia inaugurates Grand Nile Dam amid fierce opposition from Egypt and Sudan. Details of this and more to come after the short break. Do stay with us. Good afternoon, welcome to Around the World in 30 minutes on Politics and Business Television. I'm Fatima Abubakar Oyibo. Many thanks for joining us. During Israeli President Isaac Herzog's visit to London, a wave of legal and political pressure has emerged, urging UK authorities to arrest him over alleged war crimes. The International Center of Justice for Palestinians, ICJP, alongside several human rights organizations, formally petitioned Scotland Yard to investigate Herzog for his role in Israel's military actions in Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, and Qatar. These groups argue that Herzog bears criminal liability for acts that may constitute war crimes, crimes against humanity, and plausible genocide, citing his controversial statement and symbolic endorsement of military operations. The visit has ignited widespread public outcry and mobilized mass protests across London. Demonstrators, including members of Friends of Al-Aqsa and the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, gathered outside key venues such as Chatham House and Downing Street, demanding accountability and justice. Protesters wielded placards branding Herzog as, and I quote, a genocide president, while advocacy groups submitted formal applications to the UK's Director of Public Prosecution seeking an arrest warrant. The protest reflects growing frustration with British political leadership, particularly Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who has been accused of rolling out the red carpet for a figure many view as complicit in civilian atrocities. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has pledged bold action to stop Israel's military campaign in Gaza. She proposed cutting bilateral support, sanctioning extremist ministers, and suspending the EU-Israel trade agreement. Man-made farming can never be a weapon of war, she told the European Parliament. Her proposal sparked mixed reactions across the EU, while some member states backed the move. Others, like Germany and Hungary, voiced resistance. Israeli officials condemned the speech, accusing the EU of siding with Hamas. Von der Leyen insisted the goal is peace and protection for civilians. She also addressed Ukraine, suggesting a summit on abducted children and using frozen Russia assets for reparations. The dual-focus message highlights the EU's ambition to lead on global justice, but with sanctions requiring unanimous approval, the road ahead remains politically complex. Moving on to Iran, tensions have resurfaced between Iran and the UN's nuclear watchdog over a newly announced cooperation deal, while the International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA claims it's secured access to all Iranian nuclear facilities. Tehran insists the agreement does not guarantee inspections beyond the Bushehr plant. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated that any future access would require approval from the Supreme National Security Council. The disagreements follow months of strained relations after Israeli and U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, which led to a suspension of IAEA cooperation. Despite the discord, both sides view the deal as a step towards renewed engagement. However, European powers are threatening to reimpose sanctions, and Iran has warned it will terminate the agreement if provoked. The fragile accord now hangs in the balance, with global non-proliferation efforts at stake. Following Prime Minister KP Sharma's Oli's resignation. Nepal faces a leadership vacuum as Gen Z-led protests continue to shake the nation. The military has taken control of security operations in Kathmandu, enforcing curfews and patrolling key government sites. President Ramchandra Patel remains in office but is viewed by protesters as part of the same political elite they oppose. The protests, sparked by a controversial social media ban, have evolved into a broader anti-corruption movement. Demonstrators, many of them young Nepalis, set fire to parliament and government buildings, demanding systematic change rather than a mere reshuffling of leadership. With no clear successor in sight, names like Rabi Lamichane and Kathmandu Mayor Belandra Shah have emerged as potential reformist figures. Gen Z activists are now consolidating demands for sweeping reforms, including a new constitution, fresh elections, and justice for those killed during the unrest. While the army insists its role is limited to restoring order, many observers believe it is effectively running the country. The coming days will test whether Nepal's youth-led movement can translate street power into lasting political transformation. Ethiopia has officially opened the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam (GERD), Africa's largest hydroelectric project. Despite years of objections from Egypt and Sudan, the $5 billion dam on the Blue Nile is expected to double Ethiopia's electricity output, a major boost for a country where nearly half the population lacks reliable power. Egypt and Sudan, however, warned the dam could severely impact downstream water supplies. Both nations accuse Ethiopia of violating international law and have declared water security a national priority. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi called the dam an existential threat and vowed to take protective measures if water flow is disrupted. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed insists the dam is a symbol of regional cooperation, not conflict. He says it will benefit neighboring countries through energy exports and flood control. But with no binding water sharing agreement in place, tensions remain high across the Nile basin. Moving to Germany now, Amnesty International has called for independent investigations into alleged police brutality during a pro-Palestinian demonstration in Berlin. Viral footage shows officers violently detaining protesters, including minors, with one woman reportedly knocked to the ground while walking away. The protest, held near Moritzplatz metro station, was part of a growing movement against Germany suppressing free speech and targeting Palestine solidarity groups. German police also raided homes of activists suspected of incitement and violence, sparking further outrage. Critics argue that the crackdown reflects a broader pattern of intolerance towards dissent, especially when it challenges Germany's historical and political alignment with Israel. Poland has shot down multiple Russian drones that violated its airspace during a massive aerial assault on Ukraine. The incident marked the first time NATO forces have directly engaged Russian military assets since the war began in 2022. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk called the incursion a large-scale provocation and activated Article 4 of the NATO treaty, triggering emergency consultations among alliance members. The drones, part of a wave of over 400 launched by Russia, prompted Poland to scramble F-16s, Dutch F-35s and other NATO aircraft to intercept the threat. One drone struck a residential building in eastern Poland, though no casualties were reported. Warsaw also temporarily shut down major airports and placed its air defenses on high alert. While Article 5, the clause that could trigger collective military action, has not been invoked, the incident has reignited debate over NATO's threshold for direct involvement. Leaders across Europe condemned the violation, with some calling it an act of war. For now, NATO remains cautious, but the line between deterrence and engagement is growing increasingly thin. And that wraps up the program, but before we go, the headlines again. Calls for arrest of Israeli President Isaac Herzog spark legal and political storm during London visit. EU chief Ursula von der Leyen unveils measures to halt Israel's war on Gaza. Nepal in flux as army steps in after PM Oli resigns amid Gen Z-led uprising. And in Ethiopia inaugurates Grand Nile Dam amid fierce opposition from Egypt and Sudan. From me, Fatima Abubakar Oyibo, do have a lovely day and bye for now.